Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. This is a continuation of this Kawhi Leonard story. As you guys know, this situation is becoming crazy. We did it live last night, reacting to some news of some of the things that Kawhi Leonard asked for allegedly from three teams during the free agency period in 2019. We got this from a Yahoo Sports post that we got yesterday. I want to read it quickly for those of you who maybe didn't see the live. It says the following: during Kawhi Leonard's 2019 free agency, he and his uncle Dennis Robinson sent the Clippers several requests before Leonard would commit to signing with them. It then says, those requests included the Clippers acquiring Paul George, part ownership of the team, access to a private jet, a house, and guaranteed off-court endorsement money. These verbal requests fell outside the boundaries of the NBA CBA and were the same ones Robertson sent to the Lakers and the Raptors per The Athletic, and I think it's also important that we state that those other two teams turned it down. Right? So these guys were just, they were trying to grab everything off the table, man. They weren't even leaving forks on the table. They were trying to grab everything off the table. Now, there's been a lot of speculation about what role the NBA is going to play in terms of them conducting an investigation. What could be the potential ramifications of this? Some of them could be very, very severe. I don't know if they're going to reach the point where they would try to force Ballmer to sell the team. I don't think it's going to reach that far. But then again, I don't know if these guys are doing their due diligence and actually investigating into this thing, and we ultimately find out that there was some serious wrongdoing here, then a result like that shouldn't be outside the scope of reality. We did a show earlier today, obviously depending on the order in which you're watching these shows, that basically detailed that Ballmer, the Clippers and these guys gave Aspiration $118 million to buy carbon credits, right? Just insane stuff. So while I was watching the episode of Pablo Torre Finds Out, who was actually talking about this, Dan Le Batard was there. Right, Dan Le Batard was there. So after Pablo kind of explained the $118 million, how that all came into the story, Dan Le Batard then begins to reveal some information about something I didn't know. Apparently, an NBA team owner actually contacted Dan Le Batard to reveal what some of the owners are beginning to think about Steve Ballmer and this Kawhi Leonard cover-up. Folks, you want to hear this part. Take a listen to what Dan Le Batard had to say here.
Yeah, I've got a text here from an NBA owner, and it says some of how it is the mood has changed since that Board of Governors meetings where Ballmer was running around and telling everybody he'd been conned. One of the things this owner says is the difference between this and prior situations is that Ballmer is highly respected. He has done a great job as audit committee chair. The impression from the Board of Governors meeting was that most owners hoped he didn't do it, but these last pieces of information are huge. You've got other details involving Clippers by name. It's not just Ballmer. You've got paperwork here that is awfully damning here, attached to people in important roles. I don't know how the Clippers are going to be able to slither around some of this.
Excellent. So you heard what Dan Le Batard had to say. What are my thoughts about this? I think in the beginning, there was one term that was being afforded to Steve Ballmer, which was the benefit of the doubt. Even when you heard the exchange between Mark Cuban and Pablo Torre, Mark Cuban was giving Steve Ballmer the benefit of the doubt because this guy's of high character. One of the things that he brought up, and I think it's a sound point, which is why would Ballmer do all of this to risk tarnishing his reputation, right? It doesn't make sense. But these are some of the points that he brought up. But if you listen to what Dan Le Batard had to say, apparently there was a governor's meeting because he said Ballmer was running around at the governor's meeting essentially saying that he got fleeced, that he got duped, that he got robbed, that these guys took advantage of him. But now some of these owners are beginning to feel a little bit skeptical about what Ballmer is saying and what's coming out of the camp of the Clippers, given all of this new information that's coming out. I think it's also worth mentioning that yesterday we did a show reacting to the news that the Clippers, and specifically Steve Ballmer, are desperate to part ways with Kawhi. This thing is accelerating so fast. The first news we did was that they were no longer going to be building around Kawhi Leonard going into the future. That was the first step, right? Of many. Then we got to the next stage, which was key members within the Clippers organization are looking to move on from Kawhi Leonard. Then we reached the next step, which was, the Clippers are just going to let Kawhi Leonard play out his contract for the next 2 years, and they're not going to offer him anything else. Now we've reached the point where Ballmer wants to get rid of Kawhi Leonard as soon as possible. Then we're now hearing reports from various sources about how Kawhi Leonard was a diva and how he was difficult to be around. I'm hearing stuff that within his contract, there were even certain stipulations within there where they couldn't mention his name on certain things, where he couldn't be forced to make guest appearances or public appearances, don't talk about. And you're hearing all of these things. And we're now beginning to ask ourselves the question, where is all of this going? Where is it all going? Because I think that the damage this could do it could be something as seismic. Why? Because it's now beginning to open up the door for, well, if the Clippers are doing this, what about those guys? What are they doing down the road? Now, Pablo joked about the idea of possibly looking into Jalen Brunson's contract. Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks. We did a show about it, and Knicks fans, were not joking about that. Like, they didn't think it was funny. They're like, you better knock it off. You better move on to the next fellow, right? Knicks fans were not having it at all. But the point I'm trying to make is, if this thing allows to fester and they allow this fire to keep burning, a little fire may turn into a full-blown like forest fire. And the last thing you want is people like Pablo and these guys now beginning to look into all of the other dealings around the league. Because then what would happen is like, whoa. Corruption here is rampant. Nobody's following the rules. And that's the last thing anybody wants to take place. That's the last thing they want. So it's either they resolve this thing quickly, they hand out the punishment quickly, or these guys keep digging, because I don't think they're going to stop. This story is not slowing down at all. And it's going to get worse. Trust and believe. It is going to get worse. This Molly Qerim thing is a pretty big piece of news this week. Yesterday we did a show reacting to some of the bizarre comments that Stephen A. Smith had to make on the show, reacting to the story of Molly leaving, and he started talking about leverage and all that, and people were like, bro, what's going on? What's going on here? So this afternoon, whatever, I was doing some research, and I came across an article from The Sun, right? And it had a pretty interesting headline that actually confounded me. The headline stated the following: rules are rules. Stephen A. Smith announces his 5 major first take rules after replacing Molly Qerim as host. Fans have reacted accordingly to Smith's 5 first take rules. The article then goes on. Stephen A. Smith revealed his 5 big first take rules after taking over Molly Qerim's hosting role. The fiery personality was forced to take over Molly Qerim's duties on Tuesday after the longtime host quit following 19 years with the network. It then continues on. Molly Qerim suddenly quit her first take role in ESPN on Tuesday after working with the network for 19 years. It then says, Qerim posted a message on social media about the stunning news. She was expected to still be on the program until the summer. On Tuesday's show, Stephen A. Smith revealed he would be the host for at least the rest of the week. The 57-year-old showed that he was well capable of filling in on Tuesday. The next day, during the first minutes of First Take, Smith addressed 5 guidelines for his colleagues on the debate show. We want to play that for you now.
Before anybody speaks, I want to state this. There are rules, since Molly is off today, okay? There are rules. They're called the Stephen A's rules when I'm hosting First Take. Rule number 1.
I know
speak
Dan has a
when
pen and
spoken
pad
to.
right now.
Speak when spoken to. Wait to speak. Okay, when you're called upon, Big D, You understand? Damian Woody, you speak when spoken to. Not you don't utter a syllable before I say so. That's number one. Number two, no cussing, okay? Because we saw Swagoo, a.k.a. Marcus Spears, use the word piss on several occasions yesterday. I said tick. We have to transition from that to tick, okay? So we're not going to do that. Address me as Stephen A. or Mr. Stephen A. Okay? That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do, okay? Let's get that out the way, all right? No bad-mouthing the producers. Doggy tried to do that yesterday. Very bad, very bad. And oh, by the way, okay, no rude reactions. You were very rude yesterday, very rude. We're not going to tolerate that. I reached out to Mama Martin, okay? And I'm just letting you know right now, if it happens again, Mama Martin's gonna deal with you, okay? I just wanna make sure we're clear. Welcome to the First Take edition.
Reimagined First Take.
Right, the reimagined. Are we clear? Are we clear, Dan Orlovsky?
Yes, Mr. Stephen A.
Oh, I know we are not doing this. I know we are not doing this.
Fantastic, you heard it. Now, I want to continue on with the article. A graphic of Smith's 5 rules for analysts on the show while being the host as it follows. Number 1, speak when spoken to. Number 2, no cussing. Number 3, address him as Stephen A. or Mr. Stephen A. Number 4, leave the fluid comments to me. Number 5, no rude reactions. Stephen A. Smith's rules caused an uproar from fans claiming that the outspoken 57-year-old has already shown his egomaniac ways in his new role. It goes on. Sometimes fame gets to you, and sometimes your ego was so big to begin with, it really gets to you, one wrote. Another person wrote, bro literally suffers from main character syndrome. Another commented, if this is true, F him, a third said. While Smith does have his brash way of doing things, it's important to note that his rules for colleagues weren't put together on day 2 after he's filling in as a host. Smith's rules when hosting First Take aren't a running bit. He first put forth the rules back in 2023 when he filled in for an absent Qerim. Smith has been shown these same rules in numerous shows, including on Wednesday's program. It is not known whether Stephen A. Smith will host past this week. There has been speculation as to who will replace Qerim. Smith, Peter Schrager, and the article then goes on to say a few other things there. What are my thoughts about this? My thoughts are simply this doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Who does this surprise? Who does this surprise? Stephen A. Smith is an egomaniac, bro. In the midst of all of this news going down, he's making announcements of his Sirius XM deal and all of this. I have never heard somebody that likes to talk about how much money they're making, bro. Usually, people that make a lot of money don't want anybody to know about it because security, I don't want people asking me for money, etc., etc. Oh, not Stephen A. Smith. But Stephen A. Smith can't wait to tell you how much money he made. He like the Floyd Mayweather of sports media. Literally. Any little thing, this guy has an opportunity to tell you how good and how great he and obviously we understand that, you know, he is the big wig at ESPN. He's probably the highest paid guy in sports media. I can't really think of anybody right now. Maybe Pat McAfee, I don't know, but I think it's him. So we get that, right? Nobody's saying that he doesn't deserve to get paid, and I'm not going that far at all, right? I'm not going that far. But in terms of these kind of things, man, it doesn't surprise me. Hence the reason for those bizarre comments he made after the news came out of Molly on his show. A lot of people are just sitting back like, what is going on here? He'll say one thing, something that would have people thinking, well, is this about Molly? You're talking about contract. You're talking about delusion. You're talking about not defining your market value. All of these things, but it's not about Molly. So what is it about then? Who are you talking about? What is causing you to make these statements? Oh, I'm not going to tell it because that's none of your business. Stephen A. Smith is the only person that snitches without snitching. He'll come up there and say, I heard so-and-so NBA player got knocked out at a club, but it's not my business to say who did it. I would never violate his trust like that, but he got knocked out, and I got my sources, right? And I've been in the business for 15,000 years, and I know what I'm saying. Trust me. Now, it's not my business to say he got his block knocked off, but I'm just saying. That's what it's like, yo, bro. You might as well just say the rest. You're saying this ain't about Molly. Well, who is it about? Who are you talking about? What caused you to say this? Right? So people calling them out for saying this kind of stuff, oh, this is distasteful. It's the Stephen A. Smith way, baby. It's the Stephen A. Smith way. That is exactly how Son gets down. And I am not surprised by this in the least bit. We've been following this Kawhi Leonard story pretty closely, okay? Yesterday, we did a live stream. Yeah, did we do a live stream yesterday? Yes, we did. We did a live stream reacting to a post that I saw on Instagram from the Yahoo Sports account that was basically revealing some of the things that Kawhi Leonard, I guess his camp and his uncle, were asking teams prior to him signing during the free agency period in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And some of the things that I read were just absolutely insane. I want to quickly put up the post for you guys here. This is from Yahoo Sports. It was published yesterday. It says, during Kawhi Leonard's 2019 free agency, he and his uncle, Dennis Robinson, sent the Clippers several requests before Leonard would commit to signing with them. Those requests included the Clippers acquiring Paul George, part ownership of the team, access to a private plane, a house, and guaranteed off-court endorsement money. These verbal requests fell outside the boundaries of the NBA CBA and were the same ones Robertson sent to the Lakers and the Raptors per The Athletic. So we were reacting to this. We also reacted to the story that essentially said that Ballmer and these guys are ready to move on from Kawhi Leonard, and key members within the Clippers organization are ready to move on from this guy. Just when I thought that the story couldn't get any crazier, today occurred. I logged on to YouTube and I saw a clip from Pablo Torre Finds Out with the following headline saying, exclusive. Kawhi Leonard and Aspiration needed cash. Ballmer and the Clippers sent $118 million in 18 months. $118 million was sent. So what we want to do now is we want to play what the sound had to say, and then we want to read from another report to just flesh out this article a little bit further. Take a listen to what they had to say here during this episode.
I mean, I want to make it simple, actually. Let's just recap it. September 2021 to March 2023, quote-unquote, Team Ballmer, meaning Steve Ballmer, the governor of the Clippers, Dennis Wong, the alternate governor of the Clippers, the CFO of the Clippers, and also the Clippers themselves via the letterhead with these weird carbon credits, they proceed to give a grand total of $118 million to Aspiration in 18 months. Each new payment, I would argue, less defensible than the last. Which reminds me, by the way, of something another billionaire owner had told me, like a couple episodes ago.
Because if Steve knew, and the minute he found out that this was falling apart and these guys were a scam, he'd say, let me invest some more money so you can pay off Kawhi so this whole thing goes away and there's no evidence of it any longer, and let's just erase all this from the books. You don't leave this outstanding debt out there. If Ballmer was involved and he just immediately square the circle, to use your term, the minute things went sour, he's a fucking moron.
You're saying save Aspiration personally to prevent bankruptcy, to prevent all of this stuff.
That's one option, or invest more money, right? And just tell them to pay off Kawhi. Because it would have made no sense to do this on an annual basis. It would have made a lot more sense to pay it off, put it away, nobody knows any better.
And so, weeks after Steve Ballmer's March 2023 investment, I am told, after the round of fundraising is completed, this is the spring of 2023, another thing worth noting here is that that's about when federal agencies start interviewing dozens of Aspiration employees, just two of which, by the way, you've already heard from in this episode today. In fact, March 2023 happens to be when the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the federal agency, had opened its investigation into Aspiration's carbon credit business, I am told, which had been a real source of frustration for the Aspiration employees who actually got into this whole business to, help the planet. And so there's a lot of complicated stuff here. There's also a lot of simple. And to me, the binary that Mark Cuban posed to us, are you Team Ballmer, or as I called it, Team Bricks, the bricks are bigger than I thought.
Excellent. So you heard what they had to say. Now I want to delve into this article here that I got from Yahoo Sports today. Listen to this. Clippers Steve Ballmer reportedly sent money to Aspiration multiple times for Kawhi Leonard payments. Get this. It says, Torres reporting again goes in depth on the situation. He introduces new legal contracts, speaks with anonymous sources, and even includes a court deposition from Aspiration's co-founder. While the entire video is worth a watch, to fully grasp those connections, two major themes stand out in Torres' latest report. The first of which involves the amount of money sent to Aspiration from the Clippers and Ballmer and the timing of those investments. Over the course of 18 months, Ballmer or the Clippers reportedly invested $118 million in Aspiration. A number of those payments came with the company in an alarming or dire financial situation. Many of those payments also occurred shortly before Leonard was set to receive a payment from Aspiration. Torrey laid out some of the significant dates in his reporting. Let's look at some of the dates here. September 14, 2021, Ballmer LLC invests $50 million in Aspiration. That's Ballmer. That Ballmer's already set. September 27th, this is like a week or two later, in 2021, Clippers announced a deal with Aspiration. April 1st, 2022, Clippers sent $3 million to Aspiration for carbon credits. April 4th, Clippers sent $32 million to Aspiration for carbon credits. April 4th, 2022, Leonard signs his $28 million deal with Aspiration. June 17th, that same year, Clippers sent $21 million for carbon credits. July 6th, that same year, Aspiration pays Kawhi Leonard $1.7 million. December 6, 2022, Clippers co-owner Dennis Wong invests $2 million in Aspiration. December 15th, Aspiration pays Kawhi Leonard $1.75 million. In March of 2023, Ballmer invests $10 million in Aspiration. Late March 2023, government starts to investigate Aspiration. The timeline paints a picture in which the Clippers investigated significant money in Aspirations around the time Leonard either signed his deal or payments were due. It also shows continued investments from Wong and Ballmer long after Aspiration was in dire financial trouble. The second major theme that emerged from Torrey's reporting has to do with carbon credits. A carbon credit is purchased by a company as a way to offset carbon dioxide emissions. If a company is worried about its carbon footprint, it might buy carbon credits, which might then result in something like new trees being planted as a way to offset the company's carbon footprint. Aspiration sold carbon credits at an upcharge. If planting a tree only costs 10 to 20 cents, Aspiration will charge about $1, instantly creating a profit. That's where former Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban entered the story. Cuban has been supportive of Ballmer on X, sent out a tweet asking why Torrey isn't looking into the money being invested by Ballmer. Why hasn't he looked into the money being invested by Ballmer and the Clippers into carbon credits? As Cuban puts it, if Ballmer and the Clippers were looking to circumvent the salary cap, they would buy carbon credits as a way to instantly create profits so Leonard could be paid. Torrey's reporting uncovered evidence that seemed to suggest that that's exactly what happened. It's the third straight week in which Torrey show his focus on the relationship between the Clippers, Ballmer, Aspiration, and Leonard. After Torrey's first episode dropped, the NBA announced it would reopen its investigation into whether Leonard received permissible benefits during the free agency pursuit. The league originally looked into the situation in 2019, but found no wrongdoing. Folks, this story isn't going away. As a matter of fact, it's getting worse. And it's beginning to pick up some serious steam. And heads are going to roll at the end of this. Because as Adam Silver tries to kick the can down the road and say, well, it's up to us for the burden of proof, These guys just keep bringing out more information. And it's not like as if it's just Pablo up there just making stuff up or just researching this stuff on himself by himself on Google. This guy's actually using lawyers. This ain't no joke. This is not no joke, and the ramifications could be big. They could be big. We read through some of them the other day, some of the potential penalties. One of them is Kawhi Leonard's contract gets voided. The other one is he's forced to pay $28 million of the money he took from Aspiration. I don't know he pays it to the league or whomever. Then they're talking about a potential $350,000 fine. Ballmer could lose picks. Members on the staff could be suspended for a year. What if they decide to take this thing to a level that we can't even foresee, where they say, okay, Kawhi Leonard, they're waiving his contract and he's gone. Or Ballmer has to forfeit the team. All kind of, this is insanity. And I want to say this quickly. If these things that are alleged are true, I don't believe Kawhi Leonard is the only one doing it. I refuse to believe it. I refuse to believe it. I believe that this is endemic. It's something that happens all the time. And if it is found out to be true, it just would mean that Kawhi Leonard and these guys were the ones to get caught. I don't believe he's the only one that this has happened to or has done this.